Get speed and power. You need to throw more kicks. So we got 2 minutes, straight kicks. Then you get a 1 minute break. Then you do the other leg. Let's go. My name is Jake Skelly. If you don't know who I am, I'm the owner and head coach of Broad Street Kickboxing. We're partnering up with people doing martial arts to give you a new project. We're gonna go behind the scenes a little bit and teach you about your instructors, tell you about their past, their backgrounds, how they got to where they are, their goals, what they wanna do with MMA. We're gonna get down to the nitty-gritty, but today we're gonna start off, you're gonna get to know a little bit more about me. So first things first, we're gonna talk about how I got started with martial arts. I've told this story so many times, and I love telling this story because it shows you the power of what being stubborn and just showing up for 18 years will do for you. I was a JV wrestler in high school. I wrestled for 2 seasons. I was very awful. Not very awful. I was pretty awful, but I was not terrible. Won a couple JV matches, never sniffed varsity, and just really did it because it was fun. I had a great time wrestling. I had a great time learning how to grapple. And for me, it was like an outlet. When I graduated from high school, all of the kids that I hung out with kept partying. They started getting into opioids, which was pretty common on the East Coast in the mid 2000s. So pretty much everyone started playing around with pills and heroin and stuff like that. I knew that I didn't want that. I was not good enough to wrestle in college. I went to the coach. I said what I wanted to do, and he was like, yo, you're welcome to work out with us, but you won't ever see a match. And I was like, all right, well, I want to do some competition. So a friend of mine told me about the UFC and started watching The Ultimate Fighter and was like, man, that's really cool. Started teaching myself some submissions, throwing them on the wrestlers in the wrestling room, and eventually found my way to Al Buck's gym in Vineland, New Jersey. Al Buck was a lightweight professional fighter fighting Cage Fury fighting championships in Atlantic City around 2006. He had a 3-car garage converted into an MMA gym in Vineland, New Jersey. And I spent the first 3 months training there, getting beat up, and making about a 40-minute drive one way just to start doing martial arts. And didn't last too long. I found a much closer gym. At the time, it was called K-Paz. It was owned by a blue belt. I think it was a balanced blue belt. His name was Kevin Posnack. He had some amateur Muay Thai fights, and he had built this like pretty small community in Washington Township of like legit jiu-jitsu people, legit Muay Thai people. And he had the beginning of what would have turned into like an MMA gym. There was nothing really around the South Jersey area at that time. So I spent a couple years there, got my blue belt from Daniel. And at the time, I was like, I want to do MMA. I started doing MMA. I had my first smoker. I think it was 2008. I broke my finger. It's still held together with screws and rods right now. And that was kind of it for me. Like after that first experience in an MMA cage, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. So ended up switching to Datus Mixed Martial Arts, where I spent about 6 years studying, coaching, fighting. I won a decent sized tournament as an amateur in MMA, went on to fight Muay Thai, co-main event in New York City. Really just did more than I ever thought that I was going to do in the sport. Really accomplished like everything and beyond that I set out to do. So as a fighter, I kind of overachieved what I had sought out to do and kind of fell into the role of coaching a few years ago. So if we're going to talk about the history of Broad Street Kickboxing, we have to talk about the history of me being a coach, transitioning away from being a fighter, how I took on the role of being an MMA coach, jiu-jitsu coach, Muay Thai coach. So 2016, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, had a huge episode, had several episodes, but kind of threw my life upside down. And there was like a 6-month period where I moved back from California after I was stabilized. I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't doing martial arts. I was working a really crappy job, and I was just like sitting at home being sorry for myself. And I answered a Craigslist advertisement for a cardio kickboxing coach. showed up to the interview and like found out that the person who owned the gym was actually a fight promoter that also had a small fight team. We started talking about my accomplishments. I had coached a bit at Datus Mixed Martial Arts, not as a full-time instructor, but as like a part-time assistant, and ended up taking on the role of the head coach for a program that was a global proving ground. They were around the New Jersey area a few years ago. Ended up taking over the fight team, and we kind of recruited several fighters to come train underneath of us. So that program became known as Hands Up Studios. We ended up recruiting about 6 amateur fighters onto the team. We fought all over the place. We were fighting in Maryland, we were fighting in New York, we were fighting in Delaware, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. We ended up winning several amateur MMA titles. I think we won 3 or 4 amateur MMA titles, and then we won an amateur kickboxing title as well. Around the time that that happened, I had my second big bipolar episode and ended up having to shut down that gym. Very quickly kind of bounced back from that, ended up taking a job working for Blitz Athletics as the head coach. Spent about a year and a half with them, took them on an 8-0 undefeated start. So they won 2 national kickboxing championships and an amateur MMA title. We also won some other fights with there. So we had a really strong fight team, but I just wasn't vibing with the owners. So I ended up parting ways. So now, 4 years into my coaching career, we find ourselves starting Broad Street Kickboxing. This is January 2020. We partnered up with Ray Huxon and Osagami to start teaching kickboxing classes out of their facility. We started initially just doing 3 classes a week. It was a way for me to make a couple of extra dollars and stay involved with the martial arts community and start building a program very slowly. In the beginning, we didn't have a ton of fighters, but we had a ton of students. I mean, in our first class, we had 25 people show up for class. But 3 months later, COVID hit, shut us down completely. I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but there was months where we were sneaking in the back door, training with the lights off because we didn't want to get caught, but we wanted to keep training. We wanted to keep working toward competition. So during that whole period of time, we were going down to Maryland and we were going down to Virginia to do smokers so that the fighters could start getting some experience. So even though the world was shut down, we were still working hard at getting people ready for fights. The reason we started Broad Street Kickboxing and designed the program the way that it is today is we wanted to create an environment where someone with maybe limited martial arts experience or someone with a lot of martial arts experience outside of the fight world could come in and learn the skills needed to be able to compete in an amateur fight. We wanted to do that in a very safe environment. When I came up through the fighting ranks, it was every Saturday afternoon. We sparred really, really hard for about an hour, and the goal was to just put people down, hit them as hard as you can. The amount of concussions that I've had over the years kind of led to why I stopped fighting. I just don't want to get hit in the head really, really hard anymore. When COVID restrictions kind of lifted, that's when the business started to pick up. We started to get more customers. We expanded from 3 classes a week to started doing 5 classes a week. We did that for about a year and a half. And then about a year ago, we got to the point where we had 5 classes a week and every single class had over 30 people in it and we were bumping into each other. We knew that that wasn't sustainable for us, and we knew that it was time for us to kind of take the next step on the business journey, which was us getting our own facility. Good training doesn't necessarily have to be hard, vicious, brutal training. We have done quite well in this environment with this system of we train hard, we spar light. You know, we've gone on to win 2 national kickboxing titles at WK last year. Jerry and Jayla both won their division. We've won MMA titles, we've won kickboxing fights, we've won MMA fights, and you know, jiu-jitsu to a certain extent doesn't apply to this, but we've won plenty of jiu-jitsu matches as well. So our strategy of taking all of the really hard things that turn you into a good fighter, but taking away the things that were kind of old school, that like sense of bravado and like need to beat someone up. We don't really tolerate that here. We don't want you beating the crap out of each other. We don't want you head kicking each other as hard as you can. We want you to head kick each other, but there needs to be some level of control there. So we started Broad Street Kickboxing to be a safe place for someone to get their first fight, to get their first 5 fights. The goal was never to create this gigantic professional fight team. But 4 years down the road, we're starting to look at potentially taking some of our fighters to that next step, ready for the professional level. So at the end of the day, the system is working. It's working really well. We're winning fights. People aren't getting hurt, and we're starting to get recognition in the area, and that's kind of all we can ask for. The reason that you want to come to Broad Street Kickboxing or any martial arts gym is because this is the closest thing that you're going to find as an adult to a sports community like you would have had in high school. We're the closest thing that you're going to have to a high school wrestling team where you hang out with people, you work out with them, maybe you go to dinner with them. What we've done here is we create a community of people that work together to elevate the whole room. So not only will you lose weight, start gaining muscle, not only will your confidence increase, but you're going to actually make friends. You're going to find yourself looking forward to what you're going to do on a Wednesday night at 7:30. Whereas most people Wednesday night at 7:30 are settling down, having dinner, having a couple of drinks. They're not really being social. Whereas here we have a vibrant club full of different people that you could never really expect to meet. We've got PhD researchers, we've got police officers, we've got full-time students, we've got day laborers, we've got people who are looking to become lawyers. The depth of personality that you're going to meet in this environment is something that you're not going to find on a Wednesday night at the bar. You're not going to find it when you go bowling. The environment is something that is going to pull you in and kind of reinforce those good habits and help you get the goals that you want, whether that's losing weight or learning how to fight or potentially doing a competition. Yeah, so when we launched Broad Street Kickboxing, we moved into our own facility. We expanded from being a Muay Thai kickboxing club that met, 5 times a week into we offer now 38 classes every week. We've got a full kickboxing program, which kind of keeps the lights on. We just started a boxing program. All of our boxing classes are taught by amateur fighters with an extensive amateur record. Same thing for our kickboxing classes too. All of those striking classes are taught by fighters who fought under sanctioned rules and have gone out to experience what it means to fight under that rule set, what it means to put in the effort to get to that level. We also started our own Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu program. So it's kind of funny that I have kind of been shoehorned into a kickboxing coaching role over the past, 8 years or so, when the beginning of my career was 100% jujitsu. I was a jujitsu guy from the jump. I made the transition right from high school wrestling into competing in gi and no gi. I competed extensively throughout my entire career. After I stopped fighting MMA, I continued to compete in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So the Jiu-Jitsu program has a special place in my heart. We're building it from the ground up. Right now we've got our biggest class is like 8 people in it, and I'm thrilled when they show up. I, along with my partner, John Fulton, who's also a black belt in jiu-jitsu, who also has an extensive background. He's trained in American Top Team. He's trained with Kamar Usman. I mean, he's trained with pro fighters from the jump. So together we kind of created this jiu-jitsu program that we're looking to build up and expand upon over the next couple of years. So if you're looking to know what classes I'm teaching, you're going to see me in the jiu-jitsu program, in the gi, in no gi, really working on building that up. We've also just launched our kids MMA program. So we focus on gi jiu-jitsu, we focus on Muay Thai kickboxing, and then once a week we do MMA. That's something that I'm really excited to start building. I've worked for several years in the public school systems in Philadelphia, in New Jersey, in Media, Pennsylvania, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I've worked with regular population students. I've also worked with students with special needs. So we're really looking to expand upon the kids program and really make that a primary component of our business. One of the taglines that we have here at Broad Street Kickboxing is that we operate with a tradition of excellence. So the gyms that I trained at, very accomplished fighters. When I made my amateur MMA debut, I fought in the WK tournament, ended up winning it, started a pretty decent amateur career that I built upon and turned into a coaching career. Me as a jiu-jitsu competitor, I've done some low-level pro grappling matches against some really good people. I have won countless amateur jiu-jitsu regional tournaments, white belt, blue belt, purple belt, brown belt. Haven't quite competed at black belt quite yet, but looking to maybe get that done next year. So just myself, I'm pretty accomplished as an amateur, and I've coached, quite a few amateur fighters who went on to have professional careers. Some of them have went on to fight in Bellator, Cage Fury, nationally. We have a heavyweight that we work with consistently that fights all over the country. So, as a coach, I have a pretty strong background and I have a pretty good reputation. And if we just want to talk about Broad Street kickboxing and what we've accomplished as a team here, I mean, we've been open for 4 years. The first 2 years or so, we kind of lost out due to COVID. So for the last 2 years is when we kind of made our coaching debut, our fighting debut in the regional tournament scene, fighting in New York, fighting in Delaware, fighting in Philadelphia. We've had fighters fight main event in a casino, 2 years after starting to train with us. That's how Jerry won this title. They called us up. They definitely thought that we were going to come in to lose as the out of town fighter. We got a submission win in the first round with rear naked choke. So we fight well under pressure, and as you see, we're accomplished. Just last year, we won 2 national titles at WKA. Jayla won her division. She went 2-0 to win the nationals, and those were her first 2 fights. So she was already ready for the national level immediately upon her amateur career starting. And then Jerry had like an excellent run last year. He went 5-0 in 2 days to win his national championship at 145 pounds. So, Jerry's definitely our most accomplished fighter. He's got a record of 11-5. He's had 16 amateur fights, and he's the fighter that we're looking to transition into making a professional run. We also have a ton of, I don't want to say lower level, but we'll say less experienced fighters who are just kind of getting started. We've got Coach Ben, who's 2-1. He's fought in New York. He's fought in Delaware. He fought at WKs where he won his fight. Fidelo's getting a ton of experience in New York, WKs. We've got Victor, who's looking to make a transition in MMA in the future. We have Sharon, who's probably going to get back to a fight eventually. We have a couple new people who've recently joined the team that are very high level that we're looking to get into fights. We've got some MMA fights coming up. We've got some kickboxing fights coming up. And this year is the year that we're looking to build upon the the beginner level group of students that we have that have recently started to do what we call like developmental events. So there's an amazing program down it's actually nationally now. It's called the Muay Thai Development League, and it allows you to get scrimmage fights in a low contact environment where you're not going to get concussions. So we've done that twice now, and we've gone down, we perform really well, and we're using that as a way to build our students up to get ready for the next level. So, within the next 18 months or so, we're going to have a whole nother group of fighters that are looking to hit the amateur scene and compete in kickboxing and MMA. Having someone like Jerry around just shows the average person who's walking in that we know what we're doing, that we know how to win fights, we know how to do it safely. Jerry's fought 16 times. He's never been knocked down. He's never been finished. He's lost a couple fights, but they were all decision. And some of them were split decisions as well. So even in our losses, we look good and the fights are close. So if you're walking down the street or if you're like, hey, I might want to do MMA, but I want to do it in an environment that's safe, that's going to take care of me, and it's going to allow me to grow. We're definitely the environment for you. And Jerry's like a testament to that. Jerry came to us as a black belt in karate, had never done full contact fighting at all. We took him through the developmental system. We took him down to Virginia and Maryland, and we fought in the smoker events. He made his debut at Gut Check down in Delaware. And, from there, we've managed to fight main event in New York. We were co-main event at Rivers Casino down in Philadelphia last year. It's just what you can accomplish in a short period of time if you're willing to commit to it and put the time into it. Jerry's an example of that, and really that could be anybody. Jayla's another example of that. Jayla had no background in martial arts whatsoever, trained with us for about a year and a half, 2 years, sparred with the fighters. She took it seriously. She worked out like an athlete, and she won her first 2 fights and won nationals. So it's just an example of what anybody can do. You don't have to be Jerry, who's a breakdancer or a karate guy. You can be someone who's done some sports in high school and you want to come try out this new experience to see how far you can go. We'll take you safely through that environment, through that process, and we can take you pretty far. I mean, I'm not going to say that we can get you to the UFC. We might. It's too young for us to say that. It's too early in our development. It's too early in our career, but in the next 10 years, who knows what's going to look like at Broad Street Kickboxing. when I first joined Datus, the environment was to be on the fight team, you have to survive fight team training. And at that point, I was a pretty good grappler. I was already submitting professional fighters as a blue belt. And, I'm not bragging, but professional fighting doesn't mean that you have high level jujitsu. I had pretty good jujitsu for a blue belt. So I was invited onto the fight team. And I remember training with a kid who was a national champion kickboxer, and they wanted me to help him get ready for MMA. And I was like, all right, cool. I'm just going to spam double legs on him for the whole time that we're sparring. And that's what I did. I just kept taking him down over and over. We kept getting up, and I was like, I'm not going to strike with this guy. I can't. I'm just going to take him down. I remember after like 3 or 4 takedowns, I shot and he just blasted a knee to the face. And I remember like waking up in his guard. I finished the takedown and I was like, yo, what just happened? And they were like, oh, you got knocked out. And I was like, oh, I guess that's a thing. I guess you get knocked out on Saturdays here. I won't lie, it made me very tough. I got to train with some really, really good fighters, but it was also like, how many concussions did I get for what? I fought amateur, you know, I've done some pro jiu-jitsu, but you don't even need to get hit in the head for that. So why do we need to train at that level of intensity where we're allowing knees to the head? We don't allow that at all here, at all. As an amateur fighter, you're not getting kneed in the head ever. It doesn't happen until you become a professional. So I guess that environment was more like inclusive to professionals than what we have now. But even still, when we have guys going pro, we're not going to be kneeing each other in the head. I mean, we're going to talk about what to do, how to prevent that, but there's never really an opportunity or a reason for us to be going like that and like disregarding safety and just throwing shit to the wall to see what'll stick. So, as part of opening Broad Street Kickboxing, we've been really lucky to partner with some extremely high level coaches. So, we've got a couple boxing coaches who have national experience. We've got Joa, we've got Beta, and we've got Naeem. They all have experience fighting high level amateur boxing. We also just brought in a new wrestling, MMA, and kickboxing coach. His name is Pablo. He's actually a national Ecuadorian wrestling champion, black belt in jiu-jitsu, and pro MMA experience. This guy moves so fast. He lifted me up, did a full flip and a half on a takedown, and then I just ran away from him for the rest of the round. I mean, he's really, really high level. He's been teaching our Wednesday night kickboxing class and our Saturday MMA program. So if you're looking to learn from some really high level people that have experience outside of what you're used to, whether that's regular jiu-jitsu, whether that's Muay Thai kickboxing, if you're looking to expand a little bit, get some wrestling, get some MMA, and get some boxing in, we're definitely the place for you, as we're really the only gym in Philadelphia that has an established boxing program like this. And we're really looking to take it to the next level over the next couple years. Ever since we started this project a couple weeks ago, it's given me a chance to really reflect on the career that I've had and really think about what I've accomplished, the little bit of things that I've accomplished. And really, like, having seen the clips of my old competition videos, having like jujitsu matches, MMA matches, and Muay Thai, it really kind of cemented for me that Broad Street Kickboxing is not about Jake Skelly. There's a reason that we didn't name the club Skelly's MMA or Skelly's Kickboxing, because we want this gym to be about the community that we've created. We want it to be about the coaches that we've been able to train, the coaches that have come to us, the students that have come to us and succeeded, whether that's through competition or through weight loss or just meeting new friends. It's really important for me, even though this first couple of videos are focusing on me, it's important for me to let you understand that this gym is not about Jake. The gym is about Jerry and Tom and Fidel and Vic and Ben and Joa and Naeem and the hundreds of people that we've helped since we've opened the door, and the 60 or so students that come to us every single week. Through this video, you're going to see clips of me coaching, clips of me rolling. It's just to give you an idea about the guy that started this gym. But over the course of the next couple months, you're going to get to know a lot about the people that have helped us get to the level that we're at now. So I just wanted to thank you for following along for this first couple weeks on these videos. Thanks for letting my ego take the ride a little bit. And just know that over the next couple months, you're going to get to know some really cool people, get to learn about their passions and what got them started. That's all I wanted to do.